Namaskar, I'm Devdeep Purkayastha from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Welcome to this workshop. It's a career development workshop. It's the number 2 in the series to grow your team. The first one, also available on NPTEL Plus, is Grow Yourself. Before I get into the module itself, have a look at the screen on what Brian Tracy, one of the globally known expert coach, trainer, author, has said. When you are working in a team, do not aspire to be the best within the team. Aspire and be the best for the team so that you help your team get to be a winning team, a high-performing team. And if you are a team leader similarly, your objective is to make every team member in your team to be the best for the team. Not for best for himself or herself personally, but for the best for the team. Now, we talked about a lot of the modules. And we talked about the 6T framework on which this workshop is based. We talked about how to make sure that the whole team is focused on a common set of objectives, a common purpose, common goals, common deliverables. We talked about how to get the right people on the team, how to onboard them into the team, make sure that there are no skill gaps in the team. We talked about team operating processes and systems on a day-to-day basis so that your team is efficient, effective. We talked about the soft side of team culture, how to build trust and empowerment. And then the last module we talk about how to track and adjust and make sure that the team keeps moving towards the objective and doesn't fall back or fall behind or go in the wrong direction. But that's still not enough, maybe, for each member to be for the team. Not for himself or herself, but for the team. And for that, what you need is a strong recognition and rewards mechanism. Because the team achievement is actually a sum of all the team members' achievements. And each of those team achievements and team member achievements have to be recognized and rewarded in a systemic way. So this module is all about team rewards and recognition. So why do we need rewards and recognitions? First, it boosts morale. Even you, who is probably a team leader today and watching this workshop or doing this workshop, have been members of other teams. Imagine when your work gets recognized. You feel good, your morale goes up. And then you want to stay on in the team, which means that retention is not a problem. So if you're a team leader, rewards and recognition make sure that people feel good, they don't want to leave the team, and you don't have a retention problem. At the same time, the team members are working at the highest level of performance because they feel good and they feel recognized. And therefore, because every team member is working at the highest performance level, there's also automatically this equation about a team that 1 + 1 is not equal to 2 in a team. 1 + 1 is equal to 11 or 20. In effect, that the team performance is more than the sum of the team members' performance. And the team members work successfully with each other. It also creates a very positive culture. a positive culture where the energy levels are high and that everybody wants to be in that team. So if you're a startup with a great culture and a great team, everybody wants to join your startup. If you're a functional team or a multifunctional team within an organization, everybody wants to work with that team. So the employee branding goes up. The employer branding goes up because everybody wants to be part of the team, and your branding as a team leader also goes up. So these are some of the benefits. And the flip side, if you don't recognize performance in a meaningful way, achievements in a meaningful way, measurable way, etc., which we'll talk about later, it leads to demotivation. When there's demotivation, people don't perform at the highest level. Team members want to leave the team. There's negativity that comes in. Failures get amplified because success is not highlighted. And that's the trap that you have to avoid. And then over time, nobody wants to work in your team. Or if you're a startup, nobody wants to work in your startup. Or if you're a cricket team, or a football team, or a musical band, or a club, if the branding of that team is not good, people will not want to work in that team. So over time, it's very difficult then to get new members. A, the existing members will leave. B, new members will not come. So that's the risk of non-recognition. So how do you ensure team rewards and recognition in a structured, systematic, ongoing way? And as in the rest of the workshop, I've tried to give you a simple framework which you can follow. I call it the 6M framework, easy to remember. And the process includes the 6 M's, starting with first, meaningful. The reward and recognition has to be meaningful in the context of what the team or the organization is trying to achieve. We'll look at it in a bit more detail in a while. So first is meaningful. Second, the process has to be measurable. So when recognition and rewards happen, it must be against measurable achievements, measurable goals, measurable achievements. Not just feel good, think good kind of achievement, but real, measurable. The rewards and recognition process has to be memorable. So people remember. The team members remember. Outside team people also remember that, oh wow, that team member in that team was rewarded and recognized. So it has to be memorable. Look at it in a bit more details in a while. The fourth M is that it has to be motivational. Employees, after being rewarded and recognized, should want to do more, should want to do better, should want to go to higher levels of performance. So it has to be motivational. It has to be mutual, which means it cannot be just rewarding a team member, because in a team, it's not that one person can succeed without others helping. So it has to be good for the team, for all the team members, not just any one person. It has to be mutual. And it doesn't always have to be monetary. It can also be non-monetary. So these are the 6 M's. Let's very quickly get into a bit more detail of each of the M's. So the first one is it has to be meaningful. What does meaningful in the context mean? It means that whatever is being recognized or rewarded, a performance, an achievement, a milestone, has to be consistent with the overall team purpose, the team objectives. It has to be consistent with the overall purpose of the organization, the mission or the vision of the company. In a sports team, more than personal achievements, personal records, what is important is that did that achievement help the team, the bigger context of did you win the match, for example? It's good if a person has scored a goal. But it is much better if a person has scored a goal, a player has scored a goal, but the team has won. So whatever be the measure, it must be meaningful in the context of the overall team or the company or the sports. It has to be measurable. For example, in football, playing well is not a measurable goal. Yeah, it looks good, it feels good, the spectators are happy, but it's not necessarily a measurable achievement. But scoring a goal or stopping a goal, etc., are measurable. In business, therefore, there has to be measurable KPIs, performance indicators. It could be financial, it could be revenue for sales, it could be production for the factory people, it could be hiring, staffing for the HR people, it could be quality standards for the quality people. But achievements have to be against a measure, so measurable. Third, it has to be memorable. So when the reward and recognition is happening, it's no point rewarding someone in private. It is good to reward and recognize in public. In private, you can always have discussions. If you want to give feedback, it's best done in private. If you want to have a tough discussion with your team, it's better to do it in private. If you want to pull up a team member for poor performance, it's better to do it in private. But reward and recognition has to be done in public. And probably in a way that is meaningful and memorable. So the employee remembers and everybody who is watching also remembers. So it's good to tie it to an annual event, a quarterly event, when there's a large gathering of people. Maybe hand out a trophy or a nice certificate which the employee or the team member can display, and every time he looks at it, looks at the trophy, looks at the certificate, he remembers his past achievements and is motivated to do better in the future. So memorable. Moving on, the next is that it has to be motivational, of course. Because you want your team members, you want employees of your startup or your organization, you want your players to be in the loop of continuous improvement, continuous achievement. You achieve, you get rewarded and recognized, so you are motivated, you achieve some more, you get some more reward and recognition, and so on. So you keep going up the league, so to say. You won the first match, second match, third match, go to the quarterfinals, win the matches there, go to the semifinals, go to the finals, and win the championship. So it's a positive loop of achievements, recognition, rewards, high energy, high motivation, memorable, go to the next level, win some more, and that's the positive loop. It also has to be mutual in the sense it cannot be just rewarding a personal achievement. It's good to recognize personal achievement, but it has to have some linkage to the team's overall goal. The team also has to win, and since no team member alone can win the match, he can have an outsized performance. No team member can actually win the match by himself or herself. He may have a very good performance, he may have a better performance, he may be the man of the match or the woman of the match, but he could not have won the match alone. And therefore, the reward and recognition have to be mutual, which means for the person who has achieved it, but persons in the team who supported him and the team itself. And finally, it has to be monetary and non-monetary. Recognition is not always about money, a grant, or a certain sum of money handed over, or a salary increment. It can also be other forms of recognition. For example, a higher role, a bigger role, It could also be a position within the organization or within the team if it's possible. If you have a layered team, you can promote a frontliner to maybe a sub-team leader. It could also be simple things like a dinner out with the senior manager, a dinner out with the CEO. It could also be things like a trophy or a badge, as I said. So it doesn't always have to be monetary. So these are the key ways for a systematic, ongoing, continuous reward and recognition process. Now let's look at how you can assess yourself or your own team's reward and recognition process. Like the rest of the workshop, what I've done here is provided you with a self-assessment tool. So if you look at the tool on the screen, it's basically giving you a lot of day-to-day behavior patterns which you can follow to do this process well. So in this page, you see the first three M's: meaningful, memorable, and measurable. And then in the first column, which under strengths, it describes the behavior pattern for when you are a great team leader in this context. And then you have got neutral behavior pattern and needs development pattern, which means you're not doing it so well. I would now encourage you to look at each of those descriptions of behaviors and reflect on where you are and rate yourself. When you first time do it, you may find that a lot of them are actually your development areas, and that's okay. But as you become more conscious, as you reflect, as you consciously practice, you will find that many of your behavior patterns are moving more towards strength areas. And then in this slide, you get the other three M's. And similarly, there's behavior descriptions of where it's a good, desirable behavior versus a not so desirable behavior. And as you reflect, you can choose one or two of your highest development needs. Decide for yourself or decide in consultation with your team. And then work on them for the next few weeks till they become your strength. Then go for the next two or three. So in essence, what I'm requesting you to do is to take 30 minutes out after this workshop, reflect, assess, and develop your personal action plan for this module, rewards and recognition. And then keep doing it after a few weeks, after a few months, after maybe a year or 2 years, till you become well versed in this particular module, and then slowly over the 6T framework. And then, trust me, you will be a great team leader of a great team. So with that, good luck. Thank you. Namaskar.